Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers. It's Kieran here, and in this video we're going to be comparing two of HOKA's lightweight trainers that are designed for daily training and up-tempo efforts. We're talking about the HOKA Rincon 3 and the HOKA Mach 5. In the next 10 minutes we'll walk you through the shoes, including how they fit, how they run, whether one of them is better than the other, and what we'd recommend both of these shoes would be used for. Is one more value than the other? Watch on to find out. So first up, let's compare the key details then. Well, drop, there's no difference here. You're going to get a 5mm drop on both the Rincon 3 and the Mach 5. The stack height of the Rincon 3 was slightly higher volume, 33mm in the heel and 28mm in the forefoot, whereas the Mach 5 comes with a 29mm stack in the heel and 24mm in the forefoot. Now when it comes to weight, the HOKA Mach 5 comes in slightly heavier. In a UK men's 8.5, it's going to be 8.4 ounces or 238 grams, while the HOKA Rincon 3 comes in at 7.8 ounces or 220 grams. Price-wise, the Rincon 3 is definitely the cheaper of the two. RRP is £110 or $125, though you can get them cheaper. The HOKA Mach 5 comes in with an RRP of £130 or $140 in the US. So some quick design highlights then. Well, for the Rincon 3, this is designed for everyday runs and racing. Up top you have a vented mesh upper. The midsole has a single density compression moulded EVA. In the shoe you've got a moulded EVA sock liner as well. The construction there is with an early stage meta rocker. You've also got light, strategically placed outsole rubber for grip and durability. Onto the Mach 5 then. Well, this one is designed also for daily training and racing. Up top you're going to get a Creel Jacquard engineered mesh upper, which is slightly different than the Rincon 3. The midsole is also different. You're getting ProFly Plus midsole foam with a dual density design here. So you've got compression molded EVA that's softer foam under the heel, that's firmer under the toes. That compares to a single density that you're going to get in the Rincon 3. You've also got a flat gusseted tongue, articulated heel collar that's a little bit narrower than you'll find on the Rincon 3. And flip them over and you've got a rubberized EVA outsole.
So the fit for me in the shoes, I would say in both the Rincon 3 and the Mach 5 go true to size. But it is worth noting that they are HOKAs, so they are a little bit narrower than you get in a lot of other shoes. But I would definitely stick true to size in these, just take that into account.
So when it came to fit, I ran in a UK 8.5, true to size, and I would recommend going true to size in both of these shoes. I think the Rincon 3 arguably have a slightly roomier feel to them. The Mach 5 are a little bit more hugging, a bit more tight, a bit more constricting. If you want to go wide, if you've got wide feet, I know HOKA can take some criticism for being a little bit too narrow. There is a wide version of the Rincon 3, so that might be worth a look at if you've got particularly wide feet. In both cases, you want to consider the fact that sometimes into that toe box, HOKAs do come up a little bit narrow. But for the way that I like to run in these, I have gone true to size, and that's kind of how I'd recommend it. Okay, so I'm out doing my mile test where I've got one HOKA Rincon 3 on one foot and I've got the HOKA Mach 5 on the other foot. Okay, I just go and do these quite easy really, just to see how the ride feels, to compare them, and how the fit overall feels on the foot. Now I think the biggest contrast here is that the Rincon 3 definitely feel a little flatter, the foot lands a little flatter, the heel lands down in a kind of flatter base than in the Mach 5. The Mach 5, you've got this kind of, almost like, it's not a ball, but you've got this level of cushioning under the mid to forefoot that feels like it rolls you much more pronounced sort of into the next step, whereas with the Rincon 3, I think with each step you're just landing a little bit more kind of flat-footed, particularly when you're doing those kind of easier miles that I'm doing now. Overall, the fit on the foot of the Rincon 3, I think it's roomier. The Mach 5 are much more snug around the sort of across the top of the midfoot into the kind of toe box just before the toes. There's more room in the Rincon toe box. I'm running in these shoes with both kind of my size 8.5, and I think you're just getting more pop in terms of the ride from the Mach 5. They are a much springier, much more sort of punchy ride than the Rincon 3. So one of the things I think you're going to be thinking about is whether or not you want that. You know, I think there's a lot of value in the Rincon 3 as a running shoe and a race shoe. They just feel a little bit less cushioned, a little bit more sort of old school in a way. I'm trying to find a way to describe this, but that you can almost feel the rocker of the HOKA Mach 5 more pronounced than you can on the Rincon 3 under the kind of midfoot area. It's almost like you can feel the roll as you put your foot down. It's almost like having an extra kind of curve of that ProFly Plus foam under there. Obviously, you're not getting that on the Obviously you're not getting that on the Rincon 3. That does make a difference. I think it maybe makes the Mach 5 marginally less stable, but overall these shoes, in terms of stability, I think they're a pretty good match. So another thing I noticed during that mile, I think what you're getting here with the HOKA Mach 5, you're getting an ever such sort of slightly wider base to run off. I'm not sure there's too much to choose kind of in the mid to forefoot in terms of the width of the foam, but I think there's more spilling out the back into the heel and further back in the shoe, which overall kind of makes this kind of slightly wider platform. And obviously I think what you're getting, that part of that kind of more pronounced kind of spring and propulsion you're getting off that is not just down to the foam, but it's the fact that there's more of it. The HOKA Rincon 3, therefore, I think maybe, you know, it just feels a little bit sort of lighter on the foot. It's a little bit less shoe, maybe a little bit more agile. It's definitely quite not as punchy and propulsive. You know, with the Rincon 3, I think you're going to have to do a little bit more work than you will with the Mach 5. So if you're looking for a daily trainer that's going to give you that extra kind of boing and bounce and sort of spring in your stride, I think you're definitely going to get that more with the Mach 5 than you will the Rincon 3. Yeah, but if you're looking for something that is a little bit less springy, then I think the HOKA Rincon 3 is going to be the shoe for you.
So the Mach 5 and the Rincon 3 are two interesting shoes to compare because they are very similar in many ways. They're basically the same weights, they basically do the same thing. They're daily lightweight training shoes that are quite versatile when it comes to doing slower miles, but also when you're doing the faster stuff as well. I've ran quite a few races in the Rincon 2. I haven't done any in the Rincon 3, but I have ran interval sessions in this shoe, and it's a great shoe. It's a really good, cost-effective shoe that just feels great on the feet. There's a nice little bit of bounce in the midsole foam, not loads. The EVA midsole foam isn't the most futuristic foam that you're going to find on the market, but it's not bad. It's not a bad foam and it does the job. You can definitely pick up the pace quite nicely in it, but it's still got enough cushioning in it to feel comfortable when you're doing slower, more relaxed runs. I would, however, say that the more cost-effective focus on the Rincon 3 does mean that it's a bit of a no-frills shoe. There's not really anything that massively stands out for me on this, apart from the fact that it's stripped down to the point where it is very lightweight and fast. So if that's what you're looking for, you're getting that with this shoe. It's also very comfortable as well. The upper I've had no issues with at all. It's quite lightweight and breathable and quite good for hot, fast runs where you want a nice bit of airflow in the upper. It's very comfortable for that as well. So yeah, I think the Rincon 3 is a fantastic shoe, and you can even find it under £60 now if you're looking for a really cost-effective shoe that you want for those mid-level runs where you're doing daily training, but you also want to be able to have the versatility go a bit faster as well. Now, the HOKA Mach 5 is very similar in many ways. It's a lightweight, versatile shoe that can do a lot of stuff. It's a great shoe, the Mach 5, and I've used it for a lot of training. This was actually my shoe of choice for Chicago marathon training when I was doing faster intervals, tempo sessions, that sort of thing, and I didn't want to use a carbon plate for my training, so I opted for the Mach 5 for a lot of those training runs, and I absolutely loved it. It has everything you need from a shoe when you're training in a way that you want something that will go faster, but you can also go out and do slower runs as well. So if I was going out, say, and doing a 5k nice easy paced run as part of my marathon training, this could do it. And when I wanted to do my interval sessions as part of that whole session, it could do that as well. I've used this as a track many times, and it's absolutely great. It really picks up the pace nicely, and it's got this dual density midsole foam, which just hits the sweet spot. There's enough cushioning in there to feel comfortable over longer runs, but it's just balanced enough to really allow you to run fast in it without any sort of sluggish feel to that midsole foam. It's also got a great upper, very similar to the one on the Rincon 3. They're very, very similar, these uppers, and I think they're basically comparable. There's no major difference I spotted between these two. Very breathable and very comfortable on the feet. So yeah, they're a difficult one to do a comparison for because they are so similar. And I think if you had either of these shoes in your armoury for those daily training miles where you might want to go a little bit faster, as well as actual fast running as well. I mean, each of these shoes you could use for racing and you would be very happy with them because they do allow you to run very fast and you can barely feel them on the feet. They're very light shoes. The major difference that I would say between these shoes when it comes to the run is that midsole foam. The Rincon 3 is a little bit more comfortable. There's a little bit more softness in there, and it's probably not as fast for me as the Mach 5. The Mach 5 has a superior midsole setup with that dual density midsole foam, and it just gives more versatility. I can run slow miles in both of these shoes, but I think the Mach 5 really does come into its own when you want to do those faster reps, and you're really picking up the pace and you want something that has got a nice efficient fluid motion, but also means that you can do fast sprints as well. And the Mach 5 is one of the best shoes out there at the moment for that, and it's why it won our best all-rounder shoe of the year, because it just has that versatility, which the Rincon 3 for me is getting close to, but just doesn't quite have it. The other thing that's worth noting between these two shoes, and I haven't worn these enough to actually see the issue of it, but a lot of people have mentioned that the Rincon 3 has poor durability due to the way that foam is made in the midsole. I haven't got as far in this shoe to actually see that, but that's a general thing that a lot of people are saying. The Mach 5 is meant to be better when it comes to durability, which you can see when it comes down to the price of these two shoes. So my verdict on the Rincon 3 and Mach 5 is that they are both great daily trainers that have a lot of versatility to them, and I don't think you can go wrong with either of these shoes. I'm a massive fan of both of these shoes. What I would say though is that the Rincon 3 is more of a good value version. It doesn't have any major features that are standout on it. It's just a great lightweight shoe, and that midsole foam is good. But it doesn't blow you away. It doesn't do loads to make you feel like that it's helping you out on that run. It's just a lightweight, comfortable shoe that ticks a lot of boxes. The Mach 5 is a fantastic shoe and really versatile when it comes to daily training miles, all the way up to race day. It just has everything you want and doesn't even have a carbon plate in it, but you can still run really fast in this shoe and it feels great. So if I was going to go on holiday, say, and I was taking one pair of shoes with me and I wanted something that I could do my reps with, do my tempo training with, but also just go out for nice easy runs, the Mach 5 is at the top of the list for me. It's just a very perfect shoe when it comes to doing all of those different things. And the Rincon 3 can do all those things. I just think the Mach 5 just is far, far ahead of the Rincon 3 when it comes to doing faster training. The other point to mention about these two shoes is that the Rincon 3 is very cheap to buy now. You can actually find it well under £60 in a lot of places now, which is a steal for this shoe, even with issues with durability that people have mentioned, because it's a great shoe to have as part of your collection. And for under £60, it's just fantastic. If you're a beginner and you're looking for a shoe that can do it all, the Rincon 3 is a great option for that. Mach 5 you can actually get cheap in a lot of places now, under £100. It retails £130, which is still good value for this shoe, but getting it for £100 is great, because if there was one shoe that I would want in my collection that wasn't a race shoe or carbon plate shoe, it would be the Mach 5. So I'd say the Mach 5 wins it for me, but the Rincon 3 is great value. So well worth looking at both of these shoes as options for your rotation.
Well, my verdict then, well, the Rincon 3 and the Mach 5 are both great daily training options that I've enjoyed racing and training in both of these shoes. I think they're both kind of commendable and will do a really good job. But I think if I'm going to choose one that kind of just about edges it, I think it's got to be the Mach 5. Overall, I just think it's a bit more versatile. It's a bit of a livelier ride. It's a bit more punchy, and I think there's just a bit more versatility in this shoe if you're looking for something that's a bit more energetic. But I think really, if you're weighing these two up and you're not entirely sure, the choice that you're really making here is if you want a shoe that's a bit lighter, a bit roomier, a bit more direct with a bit more ground feel, a little bit less overall kind of propulsion, cheaper, and then I think the Rincon 3 is the shoe to go for. If you're looking for something that's got a little bit more cushion, there's a little bit more of a base underfoot, it gets a bit more spring, there's a bit more protection, it's slightly heavier, but a nice punchy, lively ride, a bit more energetic, then I think overall I would go for the Mach 5. So there you have it. That has been our head-to-head of the HOKA Rincon 3 and the HOKA Mach 5. Hope you've enjoyed the review. If you have any questions about these two shoes, hit us up in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell so you can get notified about when we have other videos coming up on the channel soon. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Keep watching now for a couple of other videos that I think you're going to like that are related to this, that give you some other inspiration for other shoes to buy. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we hope to see you again soon on the Run Testers. Happy running, people.